Hi there, I'm Sean Hall, CEO of human performance company Energx. And today I've got a very practical session for you simply on how to boost your energy in 10 days. Now, this is part one of two sessions that I've got as part of the conference. This one's focusing on you personally. And the second one will focus on how to translate everything that I teach you here today in this session to your team. So you can boost your team in 10 days as well. So let's get into this. But first, I just want to share a little bit more about me. So I want to say kia ora and bula, because you may have picked up already that I'm a Kiwi, but perhaps what's less obvious, I also have Fijian heritage. And definitely with what's been going on in the world this year, especially around the Black Lives Matter movement, I've been thinking a lot about what my Nana would want me to do. The other thing that I want to acknowledge is that I'm coming to you today from the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I want to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and say Bujari Gamarua, which is good day in Gadigal. So the little gift that you see on the screen right now is the neurochemical structure of dopamine, which is one of our four happy hormones. It's essential for our happiness. Now, why dopamine is really important right now is that in times of uncertainty, our dopamine is actually killed off because dopamine depends on prediction. Now, so that means if you have been feeling a bit off, or the people you care about have been feeling a bit off, you're actually completely human, right? Your brain is acting exactly the way it should. Now, the good news is we can get our dopamine flying again in just two easy steps. And we do that by focusing on what we can control and then starting to act on those things. So that leads us to the question, well, what is it that we can control? Well, you can control really only three things. The first thing is taking responsibility for your own energy. The self-care decisions that you make that recharge your batteries. So the things we know about, so getting enough sleep, hydrating, moving, nourishing ourselves. But what we, what we also need to be aware of here are the decisions that we're making that deplete us. And so those are things you might not always think about, like letting your inner critic beat you up or comparing yourself to others, which are hugely depleting decisions we make. The second thing we can control is taking responsibility for our impact on other people. So how do people feel when we contribute or participate? How do they feel after we've left them? This is a really important thing for us because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're giving the good vibes, our good energy to the people that we work with, and especially the ones that we care about the most. And finally, the last thing you can control is taking responsibility for just being really good at what you are, at what you do. And so think about this like being a master of your craft or being really proud of what you create. So if you find yourself worrying about anything outside of these three buckets, what we say is don't give your attention to it. Don't waste your energy on it, right? So, and this is a really important thing for us to think about because it's actually really normal to, again, to worry about these things that are outside of our control. But when you do notice that, just bring yourself back to these three things. All right. So if I was to simplify this even further, what it comes down to is that in every moment we have a choice, right? Every moment we have a choice. Now, that choice is we can either go one of two ways. We can either choose to be an energy vampire, and that's to ourselves and then to other people by making energy vampire decisions. So decisions that deplete us. Simple, right? And when we don't look after ourselves, when we're an energy vampire to ourselves, we often end up an energy vampire to other people unintentionally as well. And we'll be guilty of giving our worst energy to the people that we care about the most. So that's our first choice. Are you an energy vampire? Will you choose to be an energy vampire, or will you choose in that moment to be the opposite, to be an energist? An energist is a person that expands their energy every day and then the energy of others. So just think about that. At its most simplest, if you were just to reflect back on your day and to think about how many of the decisions did I make today that were energy vampire decisions versus Energx decisions, and then start to shift that balance over time. And of course, everything that we're doing here in this session is designed to help you become an Energx, the Energx I know you want to be. All right, so where do we start? Now, this is the big thing to think about, right? Because when it comes to well-being, it's overwhelming with all of the information out there about how to start. And often we don't know what we don't know. And so the most important place to start, the foundation of having more energy is, guess what? Sleep, right? So I'm going to give you 10 days of exercises, 10 simple exercises. And what I promise to you in this, and you can hold me accountable to this, is that none of what I teach you in these 10 days is actually going to require you to take any more time. It's actually about using the time that you have in a slightly different way, or integrating one of these practices into what you're already doing. So you should already hopefully be sleeping. But where do we start with sleep? Well, all the sleep science research tells us that the number one place to start, the number one thing that impacts the quantity and quality of sleep that you have, is going to bed at the same time, is regularity. And so what you want to do is go to bed at the time that's recommended by your chronotype. And your chronotype is basically the scientific definition of whether you're a morning or night person. Now, this link that you see on the screen here, bit.ly Energx Sleep, will take you to a free chronotype assessment. And it's going to tell you within the nearest 15 minutes, what is the natural bedtime for you? And obviously from there, you want to try and get the World Health Organization recommendation of 8 hours. So for me, my natural chronotype, my natural bedtime is 11:45 p.m. So that's the time I go to bed. The hour before that, I make sure I'm relaxing without any screens, and then I try to get the 8 hours sleep. And that's sort of how I've built my life around my chronotype, because that means that I start my day fully charged. So that's day one. So day one, all I want you to do your chronotype assessment and go to bed at the time it recommends. All right, let's get on to day two. Now, did you know that your brain is 80 to 85% water? And therefore, just a small amount of dehydration impacts how you think and how you feel. And so this is all we're going to do on day two, is hydrate, right? Is to make sure that we get enough water. And guess what? Your body also tells you when you've had enough water, because you will notice that when you go to the toilet, that it is a light straw color. All right, so that's what you want to do on day two, is just make sure that you get enough water, and your body will tell you you're drinking enough. All right, so hopefully you're already doing that anyway. But this is another good focus, and a great thing to do with other people as well. You can actually assign somebody to be responsible as the water person that day, and to make sure everyone's bottles or glasses are filled up. Okay, so day two. Day three, what are we going to do? Well, day three, we're going to utilize the power of positive psychology. Now, you may or may not have come across this before, but essentially what I love about positive psychology is that what it encourages us to do is focuses on what we are, what's good in us, what our strengths are, versus what we're not or what's making us ill, right? Revolutionary, right? So focusing on strengths versus weaknesses. Now, what we know is that positive psychology, when used in the right way, right, has a massive impact on us in many ways. Now, you can do another free version of this assessment right here. So if you just go to bit.ly/yeah you are, you can take the free assessment. It takes about 10 minutes, and then you can download a report that you see an example here on the screen. Now, what you'll see is that in the report, you will have your top 5 signature strengths. So these are almost like your personal brand. They're how you turn up. They're the most authentic version of you. If you share these with people, they'll tell you that's their experience of you. And so what I want you to do is, once you've done this report, so again, this is what you're doing on day 3, 10 minutes to do your report. Now, the reason we want you to be aware of this is, what we know is that when you're aware of those top 5 signature strengths and you're using them every day, these are some of the benefits. You're happier, right? It's a great start. You experience less stress. You're more confident, right? All of these things are very useful for us, right? Not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives as well. So Based on this starting point, what I want you to do on day 3 is I want you to use this idea of focusing on your strengths to be your own cheerleader, right? Because we're so good at being our own critic, right? We'll say stuff to ourselves that we'll never say to anyone else. So let's flip that. And day 3, we're going to be our own cheerleader. The way that we're going to do that, your report's going to give you a head start for this. So you got your top 5 character strengths, and then I want you to write down 11 things that you appreciate about yourself. So a good way to do this is just simply to write, I am, and then the thing that you appreciate about yourself. Yeah, I am, and then the thing that you appreciate about yourself. As I said, your report's going to give you the first 5, and then just keep going from there. If you find yourself getting stuck at any point, just tell someone that you trust. It's a great thing to do together as well. All right, so we've got day 3 out of the way. Day 4, well, guess what? We're going to practice day 4's activity right now. And all I want you to do is just follow what's happening on the screen. Right, so let's take a deep breath in, fill up the lungs, and hold. Exhale, and hold. Let's do that again. Breathe in, fill up your chest, and even fill up your belly if you can, and hold. Exhale. Let's do that one more time together. Breathe in. Can you feel the difference in your energy straight away? What we're doing right now is we're doing a technique called square breathing, and it's used by everyone from the paramilitary to elite athletes to calm your parasympathetic nervous system and to focus. So that's what we're going to do on day 4 is breathe, right? Just thinking about that one conscious breath to start with, 90 seconds, right? And it's a great way to get out of your head. If you find that you're in your head, get into your body and use that square breathing technique to calm your parasympathetic nervous system. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're a little sort of stressed because you're in back-to-back meetings, use this as a technique in between. You only need to do 5 rounds, right? 90 seconds, and that will have a massive calming effect on you. So that's day 4 out of the way. Okay, what's next? Now, at the start of the session, I talked about dopamine, right? So dopamine is one of the 4 happy hormones or neurochemicals associated with happiness. The others that are essential that we get a dose of as well are oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Now, I don't have time in this session to go into how each of those works, but I am going to teach you a very simple way to get your boost of happy hormones every day. Right? So if you find that you just want to boost your mood in some way, then this is a great thing to incorporate into your day. So here's how we do it. So if you've got a notepad and pen, write down this as it comes up. So the first thing I want you to do is to think about, and what I encourage you to do with this plan that we're creating is to do this even before you get out of bed, before you look at your device, is just to spend 2 minutes crafting what I'm about to teach you. The first thing that you're going to think about is who are you going to connect with that day in a meaningful way? Someone that you trust. And you might even be sharing this plan with them, right? Who are you going to connect with? Because what we know is that when we're connecting with people we trust, we get a boost of oxytocin, right? It's really, really important. It's that thing of coming together. Now, the second thing you're going to think about is what's an act of self-care that you can do. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, but the act of self-care that I'd really love you to focus on to start with is actually about nutrition, right? Because when we look after our gut, it has a massive impact on our mental well-being and mood. And you wouldn't intuitively have felt that, but the science also backs that up. And what we know is that 90% of your serotonin, another happy hormone, is made in your gut. So your good gut health is going to mean you're going to get more serotonin. All right, so that's the second thing. How am I going to nourish myself? The acts of self-care that nourish myself. The third thing you're going to think about is how am I going to laugh that day, right? And what I'm talking about here is we want a big belly laugh. And sometimes that can come from being with someone. It could be about watching your favorite show. It could be about sharing memes, whatever it is for you, right? How are you going to get a big belly laugh that day? You want to schedule that in, right? Really think about how you're going to get that, because a belly laugh is shown to give us a boost of endorphins. And then speaking of endorphins, the final thing we're going to think about is how we're going to move, right? Because what we know is that movement, right, also gives us those endorphins, right? So what you see here is the way that we boost our happy hormones every day is by being calm, creating our calm plan. So that's day 5. You'll boost your happy hormones by creating your calm plan. As I said, try and do this before you get out of bed. Just think about what you've got coming up and plan that straight away, right before you get into your devices. All righty, we're halfway there. All right, we're going to go back to the power of positive psychology. Now, what we know is that 5 of the strengths of the 24 strengths identified in the positive psychology assessment are highly correlated to overall happiness. So for this, now I want you to grab your notebook and pen, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do right here. So the first thing that we know, the first strength that we know, the behavior that we observe in people is that those that are most happiest are zesty and enthusiastic, right? They're the people that you know that walk into the room and they light up the room. They're hopeful and optimistic, they're loving and lovable, they're grateful, and they're curious, right? That's a really interesting one, isn't it? Curiosity. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about right now. So write in your notebook the word zest. Now, next to the word zest, I want you to think about who's the zestiest, most enthusiastic person you know, and write their name. As I said, they're the person that when they walk into the room, you know they're there, right? Write the name of the zestiest person you know. Now, I want you to write hope. Who's the most hopeful and optimistic person you know? The person that always sees the silver lining, the person that uh, is like a growth mindset master, right? So write their name down too. Now write down love. So who's the most loving and lovable person that you know? And to give yourself a little bit of an extra challenge here, think about who is the person that you know that's already an energist, right? That's really good at self-love, at filling up their own cup, charging their batteries, right? Expanding their own energy. They're a great person to think about. So who is that most loving person you know? Now write grateful. Who's the most grateful person you know? They probably express to you how grateful they are to have you in their life, right? Who's that person? Write their name down. And then finally, write curious. Who's the most curious person that you know? Now, write their name down too. Now, the great thing with these strengths is that age is not a factor here. So those names could be from 2 years old all the way up to 100 years old. Who knows? Right? I guarantee you that the most curious person in your life is probably someone that's a little bit younger, because we seem to lose a little bit of that magic as we get into adults. So what are we going to do on day 6? Well, okay, so we've got those 5 names that you've written now. So we know those people with those strengths. I want you to think about what you can learn from them. And next time you see them, appreciate them. So you might say, I went to this session with this guy and he asked me, who's the zestiest, most enthusiastic person I know? And I thought of you. What a great thing to share with them and to appreciate them. And that's exactly what you're going to do on day 6. On day 6, you're going to appreciate your happy heroes, right? Those 5 people that you wrote down, whether it's a text or a call, whatever it is, just let them know what a positive influence they are in your life, right? Share why you appreciate them. Alrighty, next thing. So we talked in our calm plan about active self-care, about nourishing ourselves the right way. Now, nutrition is definitely one of those things that can feel really overwhelming about where to start. It's like, should I be vegetarian? Should I be vegan? Should I be keto? Should I be paleo? All of these different options are out there. And it's like, where should I start? Well, this is the simplest way to think about it. If you want to improve your diet, improve your gut health, is to think about eating more food that's made in the sun, right? As opposed to food that's made in the dark, like in a factory and processed, that type of thing. All right, so the next time that you're at the supermarket, all I want you to do is look down at your trolley, or your basket, and just ask yourself, how much of what's in my trolley or my basket is made in the sun versus made in the dark? And again, start to think about the choices that you're making. And to be even simpler than that, the place I want you to start on day 7 is just to eat your veggies, right? Just like your mum said, right? So what we're looking for is to get 5 or 6 servings of vegetables for your gut health, right? So think about that, because veggies are a great source of fiber, again, which is actually the food for all of our good gut bacteria, right? So just getting enough veggies that day. Another great way to think about this is to choose a meal each day where you practice mindful eating. This is another great way to calm ourselves down, slow ourselves down. And so as you're eating the food, just notice the sensory aspect of the food, like the colors, the taste, the textures, the smell. Does it crunch when you bite into it? And if you just slow down for a couple of minutes just to appreciate those sensory aspects of the food, you're more likely to make a good choice, I guarantee you. And secondly, you're slowing down, and by slowing down and not inhaling the food, then you're going to access those micronutrients better too. Your digestion system's going to thank you for that too. All right, so that's day 7. Just eat your veggies, 5 to 6 servings. Now, the shocking thing here, and this is why this is so important, is that only 10% of Australian adults eat the recommended serve of fruit and veggies each day. And what's even more worrying is that this bad habit, this bad behavior of us as adults, is now flowing onto our kids. And now 1 in 5, 20% of children start school obese, right? And it's the adults that are to blame. So let's get on top of our veggies. All right, day 8, what are we going to do? Now, exercise, as we said, in our calm plan, we said that movement is really important for getting our boost of happy hormones too, right? Our endorphins. Now, what might surprise you is that the type of movement, the type of exercise that is most highly correlated to our mental well-being, our mental aptitude, our performance, protecting against cognitive decline, memory retention, reaction times, all of that is actually strength-based exercises. So that's why you want to be doing squats, press-ups, right? And so it's really important to be incorporating strength-based exercise into what you're doing. And extra important for women as well, to protect against things like osteoarthritis. Alrighty, so what are we going to do on day 8? Well, we're going to squeeze and move. Now, often when it comes to exercise too, it feels like we have to find time to move, which is almost like we have to steal time from other places to do this. So here's a simple way to do this. So I said, I promise you that nothing would take more time. So the way that you're going to get your squeezing and your moving in is you're just going to choose one meeting or conversation that day where you can be squeezing or moving, right? So turn off your screen, walk around the block, move around the block, whatever it takes, right? To be able to just focus on listening versus watching is a great way. It's a good skill to practice as well. The other thing that you can do is that even if you are, be that person that encourages everyone else to move. So the next time you're on a Zoom call, why not encourage, at the start of that, for everyone to do a minute of air squats, right? Or at the end, finish with a minute of a wall sit, right? Or press ups on the wall, whatever it might be, right? Be that person to encourage that, because what we know is that even just micro bursts of exercise, if you add them up through the day, you're still getting the same benefits, right? So day 8, squeeze and move. Right, day 9, what are we going to do? Right, well, day 9, we're going to boost our creativity, right? Because we all need to be thinking differently these days, right? And if you think about it, no one ever got offered a job saying that they would do the same thing everyone else has done, right? We know that when we're being creative, that is a really important boosting thing for us in our esteem as well. So for this, we're again going to use the power of positive psychology, because what we know is that there are 5 behaviors which drive creative outcomes based on positive psychology research. So let's go through those. So on day 9, you're going to choose a problem. right? A problem that either you're experiencing personally or someone else, or it could be a client, a customer, could be a friend, whatever it might be, right? And we want to find a solution to that problem. And the way we're going to do that is using the 5 behaviors identified by positive psychology research. So the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what do I need to be curious about, right? Won't surprise you, the most creative people are the most curious, right? So going wide. Then you say, what's the bravest conversation I can have or idea I can put forward? Bravery is really important, right? So this could be about talking to someone that you've never talked to before, or sharing that crazy, crazy idea that you've been keeping locked up. The next thing you think about is, what diverse perspectives will I seek, right? How can I ask or find people that are experiencing the same problem but have got different backgrounds to me, right? So getting out of your bubble. The way that I like to think about this, I go, connecting this to curiosity is, who's got the most interesting version of the problem? Next thing, how might you be enthusiastic about this, right? So sometimes solving problems doesn't feel that fun, right? So find a part of the problem that you can get enthusiastic about. Is it the problem itself? Is it the process that you're enthusiastic about? Or is it the solution and the impact that you're making, right? Be enthusiastic, because we know that mood has a big impact on our creative thinking, right? So when we're in a positive and optimistic frame of mind, our ability to think divergently, to go really wide versus narrow, is really positively correlated, right? So we want to be in a good mood. And then finally, often when we're coming up with an idea or a solution, we need to articulate that to other people. And so a good process or practice here is to think about, how can I demonstrate my thought process, my critical thinking and judgment, to communicate those insights to other people as well, right? Because you're probably going to need to get other people on board with you in order to get that idea solved or that idea up. Yeah, so these are the simple 5 things, 5 behaviors, well researched by positive psychology, designed to provide a creative outcome. Be curious, be brave, seek perspectives, be enthusiastic, and then use your critical thinking. All right, guess what? That was day 9. So we're already at day 10. What are we going to do on day 10? Well, on day 10, we're going to celebrate. All right, so this is really important. You've done a lot of work over those 9 days. So celebrate your wins. Pay forward the experiences, right? So the stuff that worked for you, share those with other people as well. Get them on board, right? We all need a boost of energy right now. And so just by sharing these simple things that I've taught you, you can help other people get a boost of energy too. And then keep going, right? Remember, everything I've taught you over those 9 days can be just incorporated into your day. It's not about finding more time, and you can do it over and over again, right? If you want to get more advanced, what you might choose is you might choose to keep going. So day 1, we talked about going to bed at the same time. Do that every night for 10 nights. See what the difference is. We talked about hydrating. Do that every day, right? That's a way to get more advanced. Or you might choose just to do one thing for 10 days in a row as a starting point as well, right? So there's lots of different ways that you can use this. So we started this session by focusing on our dopamine, right? The way that we get our dopamine flowing again is by focusing on what we can control and starting to act. That's everything that we've done today has been designed to do that for you. So I'm going to leave you with one last little hack. All right, so as we saw when we looked at getting our boost of, when we looked at the happiness superpowers, we saw that gratitude was one of the most highly correlated behaviors to overall happiness. So I'm going to teach you a little gratitude practice, because the other thing is that we know from a neuroscience point of view is that it's basically impossible for your brain to be thinking positive and negative thoughts at the same time. So practicing gratitude is a great hack, right, for any time that you're distracted, that you're ruminating, and you want to change your mood. So all I want you to do right now is I want you to think about, so just take a big breath in and just relax your shoulders. Just think about something or someone that you're grateful for right now. And think about the last time that you did that thing or you were with that person. And keep thinking about it until you can feel that feeling in your body, that feeling of gratitude. Now, that little feeling that you've got inside you right now of gratitude, we like to say is a little shimmy on the inside, right? Now, I know that it's impossible to feel bad as well when you're shimmying. All right. So the way that we like to practice gratitude is we like to think about what makes us shimmy. So it's a simple way to think about that every day is just to write down the things that make you shimmy or write down the things that are going to make you shimmy and make them happen. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining me for the session around how to boost your energy in 10 days. I hope this was very practical for you. Get started straight away. Share this with people. If you want to connect with me, here's my details. I look forward to seeing you in the second session where we're going to translate this into how to boost your team's energy in 10 days. See you soon.